Alright, so before we just got done talking about going from graphing form to general form. Now we're going to go from general form to graphing form. So it's going to be given to you in this form, this expanded form, and then we're going to rewrite it so it's in graphing form. Okay, and the best hint on this one is we're going to complete the square, but we're going to complete the square twice. We're going to do it once for the x's and once for the y's. Alright, the best way to show you how to do this is with an example. Alright, so now we've got x squared plus y squared plus 4x minus 2y minus 11 equals 0. So I'm going to do some rearranging and group the x parts together, the y parts together, and move the constants to the other side. Alright, so I've added my 11 to the other side, and then I've grouped the 4x next to the x squared and the negative 2y next to the y squared. So I've got my x's by each other and my y's by each other. Now I've left a little bit of space after each of them so that it would make the completing the square a little bit easier to do. So I'm going to try and color code this so it's a lot easier. Alright, so I'm going to have to add something here to complete the square for the x's, but if I do it there, I've got to add that same value here. Now I'm just putting in boxes as placeholders. Okay? And then we'll do the same thing for the y's. If I complete the square on that side, I'm going to have to add that same value over here. Alright, so completing the square for the x's, I've drawn the tiles. I've got one x squared tile, 4 x bars, so that when I split them up like this, it's going to take 4 units to complete that square. So I'm going to be adding 4 in that part to complete the square for the x's, which means I've got to do the same thing on the right side of the equation. You can use the algebraic method, and we're going to do this one on the y part for this part. So you can take the b value, which is negative 2, cut that in half, so divide that by 2, and square it. So negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1, and negative 1 squared is a positive 1. So I'm going to add a positive 1 into that spot to complete the y. Alright, now for the x portion of this, we've got this as x plus 2 times x plus 2, or in other words, x plus 2 squared. Okay, we still have the addition in between here, so we're going to bring that down. And then we're going to do the same thing with this. This is going to be x minus y times x minus y. Sorry about that, I misspoke. So once again, this is going to be x plus 2 times x plus 2, or the quantity of x plus 2 squared. And this is going to be y minus 1 squared, because it's going to be y minus 1 times y minus 1. And instead of writing it like that, we want to write it as the perfect square. Okay, then we've got 11 and the 4 and the 1, and we need to combine those, and that gives us 16. So now we went from it given in standard form, or in graphing, or in general form, and we wrote it in graphing form. Does this look familiar? It should. It's the one that we multiplied out to get this value. Okay, so these are the same thing, they're just written in different forms. Alright, so for our second example, we've got x squared plus y squared minus 4x plus 6y minus 3 is equal to 0. So this is in general form, and we need to put it in graphing form. So we're going to move the 3 over to the right, and then group the x's by each other and the y's by each other. Alright, so I added 3 to the other side, and then I grouped the x's together and the y's together, and I left space. And once again, I'm going to color coordinate this so that when I complete for the x's, I'm going to add that value to the right side of the equation, and then the same thing with the y's. Alright, so you can still do your tile drawings if you'd like to. I'm going to use the algebraic method on this, just so that we can kind of see how it works a little bit better. So if I take my b value, which is negative 4, and I do negative 4 divided by 2, then that is going to give me a negative 2. So this is going to give me x minus 2 squared. That negative 2 comes from this part right here. Now that value squared, negative 4 divided by 2 squared, is going to tell me what I'm going to add to each side to complete the square. So negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2, and negative 2 squared is a positive 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides to complete the square. By using that, I already have this written as a perfect square. So I'm going to do that same thing for the y's. Once again, if you're used to using the tile drawings, go ahead and continue using your tile drawings. Okay, it does the same thing. All right, so I'm going to do 6 divided by 2, which gives me a positive 3. So this is going to be y plus 3 squared. And then when I square that, that's going to be 3 squared, which is 9. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides. Okay, and then we still have the addition in between. So I took b divided by 2, that gives us this number, and then b divided by 2 squared gives us those numbers. And then I have to combine these like terms on the end. I have 3 plus the 4 and plus the 9. Okay, so that gives us 16. Alright, so we're going to do our third example. X squared plus y squared plus 2x plus 6y minus 6 equals 0. So once again, I'm going to move the 6 to the other side and group my x's together and my y's together. Alright, so now I've got that 6 moved over to the other side, so my constant's on the right, and I've grouped and arranged the x's together and the y's together and then left a space so that I can complete the square. Once again, I'm only color coordinating this so it's easier to see that this is the number I added to both sides for completing the x and that this is the number I added to both sides to complete the y. Alright, so now on this example, I wanted to complete the square using tile drawings. Okay, so on this one, I can see that from this I've got 1 x squared tiled and 2 x bars. So it's going to take 1 unit to add to complete the square. So now I've got to add that to both sides of my equation. Now I can do the same thing for the y's. I have 1 y squared tile and I have 6 y bars. And so it's going to take 9 to complete the square for that part. Alright, so using my tiles, I can see this is going to be x plus 1 times x plus 1, or x plus 1 squared. And that for my y, I've got y plus 3 times y plus 3, or y plus 3 squared. Now I'm still adding those together, okay? And then I can add my constants together, so 6 plus 1 plus 9 gives me 16. Alright, to summarize, we have the graphing form of the circle, and we have the general or standard form of the equation of a circle. So to go from graphing form to the general or standard form, we just needed to multiply things out and combine our like terms. But to go from the general or the standard form to the graphing form, we had to complete the square twice. We had to complete the square for the x part and for the y part, so that we could have the perfect square for the x and the perfect square for the y. Hope that helps you guys, and we'll talk with you soon.